Okay, so not to bring up an old wound. Maybe it's not old. Maybe it's still fresh. But you gotta tell the story.
The wound is healed. We're just asking about the wound.
You gotta
just trying
tell
to
the
reopen it.
story about when the
on it.
merch guy failed you, and kind of what it produced in you.
So I have. He actually wasn't my main merch guy. He's my merch guy that I work with when I'm in LA, and he's actually of a different faith, and I was working with him, trying to like lead him to the Lord actually. But the day of my event, he was supposed to ship all of my stuff to the particular city, and then the day of my event, he told me like half of my stuff is not going to be there. And so I was like livid, and he gaslit me the whole time, act like it was my fault, told me that I was being harsh. And I'm like, bruh, you didn't make my merch. And I just remember having such, if I'm just being honest, unrighteous anger.
Yeah.
And, I didn't feel like doing the event, mainly because a lot of people, are looking forward to my merch. And my wife had to like gently remind me.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Why I'm actually here and to have righteous anger.
Well, it was.
I'm pretty sure I said it was the devil or something.
It was funny because, it's nice to hear someone just have like a real moment right before an event, because it's true. Sometimes like things like that really do happen, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it throws you off, and you need someone to like speak the truth in love. What was like funny to me was that you went to Jackie, and Jackie's like, have you prayed about it?
Oh, that's what I said.
That's what she said.
That sounds about right.
And
He said, I don't want to pray about it.
And then she
That
said,
made you mad.
that sounds you manifesting. Yeah, because I do think that when we are angry and we are sitting in our anger, I think we want our anger to comfort us more than prayer and God does. And so, I think a lot of times when someone wrongs us and gaslights us, because we're made in the image of God and God is a God of justice, I think we want justice. I think that's a natural thing, but I think the way we try to get the justice is ungodly. We want to get justice by being mad at them, and instead of praying to the God who created you and them. And so I think it's frustrating when somebody that's godly comes along and reminds you, did you pray? No, I don't want to pray. He deserves my anger right now. And it's like, no, like you actually deserve God's anger, but because of the person of Jesus Christ, you're not receiving it. That's the gospel. That's grace.
Yep.
And so you owe him the same grace that has been given to you. So
that's really
difficult.
good. I'm like, not to look at you. It's like when the pastor's like, don't look at the person beside you. But I'm like, hello. That's really good.
Well,
the anger thing that you want, what did you say? You want anger to comfort you more than God?
Yeah.
That was the part when we were at lunch that I said that was what stuck out to me.
Yeah. You said it first.
Thank you. But no, that is so good. I think for me, the thing that I can wrestle with is it's like so in a situation maybe where like you are angry at whether it's a person or angry with the Lord, and then in a split. So basically, I'll say we're at Passion this past year, and you got to speak at the first one, then you get to speak at the second one because you had the flu, super sick. We're doing the whole thing, and I get in this place of like where I'm angry at the situation, kind of angry with the Lord, and kind of asking him why, and then 5 seconds later, Sadie's like, well, can you just please pray? So it's like shifting that anger to like...
You did not want to.
No, well, part of it too is like, it's like how to not feel shame of like, you're mad, but then it's like, God, please heal. Because then to me, it feels
like, because you said
fake.
to me, you were like, it would feel fake for me to pray right now because I'm still so mad.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah. That's actually a very real emotion.
Yeah, but I can wrestle with that.
Yeah. And I also think that it's important, and I have to, this is actually me speaking to myself, to know that God actually, he can handle all of our emotions. It's not like he doesn't want us to come to him with our anger. He just doesn't want us to be alone with it. It's like, you can feel whatever you feel, just feel it with me. That's all God wants.
That's cool.
It's like, be angry. Come to me with your anger. You know what I'm saying? Like when you deal with that stuff on your own, you gonna be messed up.
Yeah.
And so like I come to God, be like, I'm angry, Lord. I don't want to pray. And then I literally feel my heart becoming more softer doing the prayer, which is, because I came to the Lord.
Because I think it can feel fake when you come to the Lord without the honesty. You know, so oftentimes I will open it up with, Lord, I don't want to do this. I honestly actually don't want to talk to you.
She has done it a
I
lot.
do that all the time.
All the time.
I actually don't want to talk to you. I feel away, but you are Lord. You are King. You are like, you got to remind your soul of what is true about him. And then something just, it's not to say that the anger abates. It just doesn't have the same sting. You know, like, because I think especially when we see anger as like, some anger is flesh. So in the same way where you can be overwhelmed by lust, you can be overwhelmed by anger. So when it feels like that, I'm like, oh, this is flesh at this point. and I got to put that to death. But you put it to death through his power. And so I am just a fan of telling God the truth.
Yeah.
I don't want to be here, but you told me to. So
Yeah.
Here.
I love that. Well, it's with the Psalms. Like, you see that all throughout the
Yeah.
Psalms. Like, I've been so struck by reading the Psalms lately about just how real they really were with God.
Yes,
and
they
some
were.
of the prayers that they prayed against their enemies. It's like, oh, I can't believe you said that to God, because that's so crazy.
Dash their
I
heads
know,
against the rocks, Lord.
It's like, okay, tell me how you really
Jeremiah
feel.
tells God he deceived him. Like,
I know,
Yeah.
but like, that's cool that the Bible obviously has it in there for a reason, so that
Yeah.
you can learn how you can talk to God, but
Yeah.
also keeping in there what is true about God, because God still is good and he still is holy and all that is true. And it begins to shift your perspective. And like you said, your heart begins to soften even as you pray that with the real. So I love how you said, it's not that you're faking it if you're not coming to him fake. Like, you go to him, you tell him the honest and the real stuff, and then he softens your heart.
Yep.
And why I wanted to start with that question and even that story in the context of relationships is because in marriage, when two believers are married and you're trying to, iron sharpen iron, it can be really hard when one person is really going through something and the other person is like trying to help them, but it feels like no matter what you say, it's just gotta be annoying. Like, how do you be there for your spouse and actually be helpful and not annoying, but still speak truth,
Yeah.
This is
This is us.
It's hard.
he's the trying to be there but irritating me person. So
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Yeah, I feel like we have this in a couple of different ways. I think a lot of times, especially early on in our marriage, when Jackie will be going through something, I will want to try to talk her out of it, and then I started to.
I think I'm not gonna say better word. A more specific word would be fix it.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Fix her.
Yeah.
Because I love her, and then like when we're good and when she's getting in a good mood, we have like great conversations, we laughing and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, and so the Lord had to kind of convict
That's
me, like,
the motive right there.
you're selfish. You just want your Jackie back, and you actually don't like. You need to be concerned about her, not just her for you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one.
That's real. Yeah.
And then two, I think what I've also learned is just learning how the power of presence. Because I do think that a lot of times when people are going through something, they don't need words, but they just kind of need you to know, like they need assurance. Like when the Bible says that, it's not good for men to be alone. Like it's so true. Like, and so I think a lot of times when people, are going through something, they don't need you to try to find the right words to get them out. They just need to know that you're there. And so, I've learned that sometimes coming around her and just cracking a joke, or just being light, or just talking lightly and just helping her.
I'm temperamental. That's really what. I can be hot and cold very quickly.
Yeah. And then two, also not personalizing it. I think we can make things so personal in our marriage, and we can so easily feel like how your mood is indicative of how you like me.
Yeah.
And how you show, and that's because we love each other, right? And so we can make it so personal.
Yep.
And I think that God just kind of wants us to be like, chill out.
Yep. That's something I had to work on with you, is like just saying to you whenever I'm in a bad mood, this is not about you. Like
She says that a lot.
yeah, I just
You
have
gotta
to say
communicate
that
it.
because if not, he, of course, like he'll feel like it's about him, you know, because we're together all the time. So he probably thinks he said something or did something that made me mad, but I'm like, this has nothing to do with you right now. I'm not even ready to talk about it, you know, or I am, and whatever that looks like. But I feel like that's been really helpful to like communicate and not keep the other person guessing why you're acting a certain way, because clearly you can tell. I know I'm not being the way I normally am, and I'm gonna get back there. I just need a second. Fall just feels like a fresh start, doesn't it? New routines, new rhythms, and for me, a renewed focus on feeling my best. That's where Element comes in, and it is my go-to for staying hydrated and energized. Electrolytes do more than keep you from feeling thirsty. They support your energy, focus, and even your mood. And when your levels are off, you can feel it. Headaches, fatigue, muscle cramps, brain fog, all that can come from an electrolyte imbalance. Element actually helps keep those symptoms away. And it's not just me. People from all walks of life are totally hooked on Element. I'm talking pro athletes, military teams, podcast hosts, busy parents, anyone who's serious about feeling their best. It works because it's made with all the stuff your body needs and none of the junk. It's effective and it actually makes a difference. Sometimes you just need a little salty kick to get your morning going. Element is perfect for giving you that zing that you crave sometimes. I feel sharper, more energized, and way less wiped out during my day whenever I started out with Element. And actually, I love it as a little afternoon pick-me-up as well. I am such a huge Element fan. I literally drink an Element every single day, especially during pregnancy. It is my go-to and postpartum because you can just get dehydrated so fast. And it helps me with my leg cramps. It helps me with my energy, just all around everything. So get your free Element sample pack with any purchase at drinkelement.com/whoa. Try Element totally risk-free. If you don't like it, they'll refund your order, no questions asked. That's drinkelement, DRINKLMNT.com/whoa.
Yeah, what you just said is so true though, because it is like a lot of times that is our first instinct is to want to try to fix it because you do. And it is selfish. And I think for me, the motive is like comfort. It's like, it's comfortable when we're not arguing, when you're not sad, when I'm not like when it's just, when we're just jiving, when there's peace. But then again, you know, there's not always going to be that feeling, you know.
Yes. I feel like we've come a long way from when we first
for
got
me,
married
it's
to
the
now.
comfortability part.
Because like we grew up, obviously you all grew up in like different homes, you know. So I grew up with parents who I don't think you like the Enneagram, but I will use the Enneagram for the sake of this story.
No criticism.
They're an 8-wing 7 and a 7-wing 8. So like big personality, like challenger, enthusiast, all this stuff. So they have passionate conversations. Okay.
I like that word.
Yeah. You know, because I didn't view it as like a bad thing. They would argue because they would both feel really passionate about something but it wouldn't be like fighting. It was just like, intense discussion, I guess. I'm not even trying to make it sound better than it is. It just didn't feel bad. It just felt real. His parents are not like that at all. Like, everything's just good. It's just like they wouldn't even get into a conversation that would feel like challenging to one another. I feel like I've never seen that in their relationship, and I feel like that's true to your childhood. And so when we got married, I wouldn't think
that's a different dynamic.
Yeah, I would not think what we were having would be like a bad thing or an argument or whatever. But I would just come back at him with something, you know.
That's overstimulating.
Start a discussion, and he's like, "Whoa,
wow,"
you know, because I'm a lot different than like his mom's personality type, you know. So I feel like used to you'd be like, "Oh, I just want everything to be good," and this is like intense. So I'm like, "No, it is good. Like it's fine."
Yeah.
So we've come a long way.
How long have y'all been married?
5.5 years.
Okay, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me it is.
I mean, I think so. Yeah. So that's enough time to come a long way.
Yeah, it is.
6 years in November.
Because I feel like I have chilled out a lot, but also you've been okay with going like to have those conversations. Because to me, and I want to get into this, the whole apology language that y'all talk about, because I heard you say, and I want y'all to share it in your own words, but like, a sorry wasn't really what you wanted. It's not what I want either. I'm like, no, let's talk about it and let's get to the place where it's better. Whereas he just wanted to say sorry and it just be better. I'm like, it can't be better yet until we talk about it, which felt intense, you know? So talk to me about the apology language and just learning how the other person is.
Yeah, so we have I guess people would call it marriage counseling. I think it's marriage discipleship from one of my mentors, her husband, who's now like becoming real cool with Preston or whatever. And they were just working with us through some stuff. And they gave us this framework of apology language, which was like you basically take a test to see what apology, I guess, serves you best. And his was like, he can handle sorry. He just wants the thing to be acknowledged. I'm sorry that I hurt you. Me, you can say sorry. That's cool. I want a plan. Yes. Right? So it has to be sorry.
Same.
It has to be sorry in proximity to how are we moving forward from this point on.
How we're not going to get here again.
Correct. Yes. Like I need, because to me, I need the assurance and the security that we're going to move in a direction where I don't have to feel this way again. And I think I think we need those frameworks to help our communication, because I really think the biggest issues in any marriage is how you communicate, why you communicate, it's the talking. It's that. And so yeah.
It's really good advice.
Yeah, I think with the apology language, one of the things that the Lord had to show me when I first learned it, or when our mentors first started teaching us, it's just you have to have humility quick, Preston. Because I think with the apology language, it can kind of seem unfair how the other person wants you to apologize, because that's not the way you receive it. And so for somebody who wants apology with a plan, it can kind of feel like, that's doing the most. I say I'm sorry. You know, but I think humility says the way they receive I'm sorry, or how they receive comfort from you is not the way you receive comfort. So you have to be humble to say, you know, like, my apology, it's not that my apology isn't enough, but if she needs a plan to feel safe, that's what I should do in order to love her.
And truthfully, both apology languages require humility, because whereas you got to humble yourself to think of a plan. And it's not like I need an Excel sheet. It's just simply like, how are we moving forward?
Yeah.
That takes humility. It takes humility for me to say sorry in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can be arrogant that way, where I'm like, like, so I really, in our marriage, I've had to do a lot of work to say, I can understand how that hurt your feelings. I'm sorry. You know?
Isn't that crazy? Like, I remember when we first got married, I didn't know it was hard for me to say sorry until you're married, and then you're like, oh my gosh.
It's still hard for you to say
It is still hard.
What do you mean when we first got married?
I would like go on walks when we first got. I just remember
when we first got married,
we would
it was
argue
so
and I
hard
would like
for
go
me.
on a walk. I'd be like thinking to myself, this is so stupid that I can't say sorry. What is that? You know, pride and stubbornness. But yes, I still sometimes struggle, but I have gotten a lot better.
She's gotten a lot better too.
I have.
And you have
saying
gotten a lot
sorry quick
better.
now.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Do you remember like the second year of marriage? Like the first, like one of the. I don't know if it's the first time you said sorry. I'll never forget.
You probably, obviously, you did not.
It was like our second year of marriage,
I don't remember.
and we were we had this little small apartment. Our apartment was probably the size of this.
It was like
room.
750 square feet. I remember the floor plan.
It was so small. So we in our living room. It's hot. And I just remember her, like, I thought that she was about to confess something to me. The way she was looking, like, you about to say something really hard. Like, well, I'm nervous. And she was like, I just wanted to say sorry. it was so, and then she said something along the lines of like, I'm just tired of you being, you've been apologizing a lot of lately, and I want to apologize to you. And after that, it seemed like it became easier.
Yeah.
Because humility is something you have to practice. And I say humility because a big driving force for me isn't, it's going to sound bad, but really hear me out. It really isn't merely love for Preston and respect. That's not a big enough motivator for humility for me. I'm just being honest. It's God resists the proud and gives grace to the humble. That is it. Like, it's in my brain where it's like your pridefulness towards him is an assault at me. So I'm going to resist you if you continue to move like that.
Wow.
That scares me. So it's like, okay, like, and you died on the cross. Like, seriously, like you died on the cross. Philippians said he did not count the quality of God the thing to be grasped, but emptied himself. Wow. Like this is a low level of emptying to be like Christ. So
it's so true, man. It's the greatest thing ever when Scripture is your accountability, and I feel like a lot of people don't view it like that because they don't read the Bible enough to know the words that it says. But when you know the words, then it does it. I don't want to say that's haunting would be a bad word, but it's in you. You're like, oh, I know what I'm doing in my relationship with the Lord that's keeping me back because of my pride or because of my stubbornness, because of my jealousy. Like, I don't want that. Yeah. And I heard y'all talking about confession one time and just like how quick you are to confess now. And the same with us. I mean, I feel like we have gotten to a point where we confess things so naturally because we know, man, if we confess our sins to one another, like, we'll be healed. You know, like, that's how we become more like Christ. And used to, like, I was so scared of confession because it felt like that conversation y'all probably had in your apartment where it's like, it's awkward, it's heavy, you don't know how to say it. Whereas now I can say, hey, I just want to let you know, I was feeling this way, or this was what was coming up in my heart. Even confessing that has nothing to do with you, but saying like, hey, I was jealous of a friend today and I hated the way it made me feel and the way that I spoke or whatever, you know, because you know it's making you better.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk a little bit about the power of confession in marriage and the openness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to go first? So, I mean, like for us, we've learned to, one, confess quickly. To not like let things sit, but also too, you know, I've learned how not to confess so quickly.
Interesting.
Because I do think that like sometimes I can confess things or even just say things so quickly where I'm processing and I'm dumping so much on her.
Like in real time.
In real time. And so sometimes I'm the type of person, I confess quickly all the time, but sometimes I just want to confess and get it off my chest, and it can be too much for her. Yeah. And so she needs to process what she confessed. She needs to sit with it, you know? And so I think, one, giving each other grace, but I also think confessing quickly just doesn't give room for the devil to have a foothold in your marriage, right? And so, like, one thing that I learned about, you know, just not even marriage, but the Christian faith, is that we have an accuser, which is the enemy, who always wants to take us to trial. And there's no need for a trial if you confess. And so you actually just make your life easier when you confess. And so just bringing it to God first, I think is a big deal, because I do think not just confessing to your partner, but how we confess to our partner, the right language, in order so they can receive it well, matters. And so after we confess it to the Lord, like, make sure you're confessing, you know. And then also, too, I just want to say this too. I don't think that confession with everything with your spouse is beneficial. I do think that you need strong, like, men need strong brothers in the faith. That they can confess certain things to, because some things can just be too much. It's like, okay, you confessing too much.
Yes, and I agree.
There's an example of that. Like, we went through a season where you were on tour and I was at home.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of a thing when Preston is by himself, women be in his face and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm like, why is that a thing?
It's crazy. And so he would come home and share all the stuff, which is, I think, respectable, you know, and honorable. But it was sometimes where I was like, all right, now, like, I done heard this about 12 times. It's giving me anxiety at this point. So I was like, you need to go play PS4 with somebody and have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? So, but I also think being sensitive to the Holy Spirit, because someone can hear what he said and say, oh, like, they can wiggle their way out of honesty and transparency, because it's like, oh, well, if I don't have to tell my spouse everything, then cool. I think the Holy Spirit will also identify things where it's like, no, but that, you do say that.
Y'all, anytime I get a good quiet time, it is such a blessing. But when I started using Mr. Pen for Bible journaling, it was like a glow up to my quiet time. Their pastel highlighters, gel pens, and those transparent sticky notes are such a game changer. And the best part is, nothing bleeds through those delicate pages of the Bible. Mr. Pen was started by Christian teachers right here in Louisiana, heyo, and they got over 1 million 5-star reviews, so you know I am not the only one that's totally obsessed. So I put together this little bundle with all my favorites to make it super easy for you to get started. And let me tell you, this makes for the best gift for the women in your life. They will love it. They cannot believe that the highlighters will not bleed through the pages. Okay, I want to show you a little bit of what's in the journaling kit. There's so many fun things. We have highlighters, and I just have 2 here as an example to show you. Their colors are so cute. They even have these Bible tabs that have the books of the Bible on them so you can find it faster, sticky notes, all the things. And I actually want to show you in the Bible, like highlighting a verse. So I'll take the green highlighter and it'll show up really nicely on the page that you want it to show up on. And then I'll show you the next page so you can see that it doesn't bleed through. So here's the page that it's on, nice and green. And then on the other side, it is totally clear. So it didn't mess up the next page. Here's something else special just for you. You can actually get 10% off my favorite supplies and journaling Bible whenever you use the code SADIE10 at checkout. So just go to sadiepens.com and you will be directed to my favorites. That's sadiepens.com. Use the code SADIE10 at checkout and check out the bundle with my go-to journaling supplies so that you can grab exactly what I use and make it your own. I think when you confess to true friends who have wisdom and the Holy Spirit in them, sometimes they help you know what you should share and what not. For instance, Christian and I have great groups of friends. Like we're all married, you know, and so the girls are all friends and the guys are all friends. And it's a pretty small group. And the guys, you know, have a Bible study and we have our Bible study, and like that's kind of our confession. We actually used to call it confession hour because it was just the place that you really could share.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I was opening up to the girls about something, and they're like, "Hey, you should go talk to Christian about that." And I was like, You think I should talk to Christian about that? I don't know, because it just felt like the thing that maybe I should just tell the girls. Yeah. And they're like, no, I think you should go talk to Christian about that. And 2 of them had examples in their life that they went and talked to their husband about something really similar, and it was very helpful. And so I did. I went home, and I was so nervous. It was so funny because like some things you confess and it's like it doesn't make you nervous, and then some things you're like, oh, I really do feel nervous. But I knew the Lord, like I had felt just confirmation that was what I was supposed to do. Yeah. And we had the best conversation, and it actually grew our relationship so much. I was super thankful for that, like godly wisdom, for them to tell me like that's something you should share.
That's important.
But I'm also thankful for that you know, you have men in your life that you can confess things to, because I agree. Like I've told him things that I'm like, if you told me that, it would make me feel anxious and I would go, my mind would go into crazy places. But I feel like I don't want you to not feel that you can share that, because I need to be strong enough in the Lord to handle that if you felt you needed to confess that to me. And I always want you to feel the freedom to be open in our relationship. I never want you to feel like you have to hide something because I couldn't handle it. Yeah. But I also love that you have your guys that are helping you and praying with you and all of those things. Yeah. So I think it is both. And I think that's so good that you spoke to like the wisdom in confession.
A couple of years ago, Jackie said, I think it was a podcast or something, and Jackie said something great. She said, your spouse is your community, but your spouse cannot be your only community. And I think that's so true, because I think what spouses need is a community to help them be better husbands, better wives, better fathers, better mothers. I think it really takes a community. We say it takes a community to raise a child, but it takes a community for all of us to be better. But I also think that it's very important for our spouses to be confident in the people that we have in our that we have in our lives. And so your spouse, like you being confident in the men of God that he calls friends, gives you confidence that if you're not confessing stuff to me, you're confessing stuff to people who are pointing you back to God and pointing you back to me. Yep. You know, and so I think that's what we need in marriage.
That's great. I think I did a whole podcast on guarding your heart in marriage. Is that true?
Yes. Don't remember what we talked about.
I don't remember what y'all talked about either. I just
the title sounds similar.
Guarding your heart in marriage, which...
I don't even remember that title.
Well, maybe
I remember the title.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Maybe I made it up.
The conversation.
And this is my plug for their podcast. If you don't listen to the periods, I don't know what you're doing, because it's so good. So, pretty much everything we brought up has been based off things we've heard y'all say on your podcast.
That's
so
crazy.
Shout out to... the amazing content that you guys are putting out and conversations y'all are having, because these conversations are really, really important. Yeah. And y'all do not shy away from the hard stuff. There was another title that I will bring up, and it was because, hey, I feel the freedom that y'all normally do not hold back. The title was "What We Wish We Knew About Sex."
Oh yeah.
Okay,
that got like 1 million views. Or something.
It did
because it's got sex in it.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is why I want to bring it up, because we did a podcast one time about I don't even remember our title, but with Reeves and Lydia, about basically what we didn't know about sex. We had our friends on who have been very open about their previous past and different things, and then they came together and dated purely and got married, and it was a beautiful story. So we talked about the past and what they wish they knew, and y'all did too. That was one of our most viewed podcasts. That's one of y'all's most viewed podcasts. Yes, it has sex in it, but more than that, I think people really are like, they want to learn. They want to know, like, how do you do this God's way? How do you do this a biblical way? How do you have something pure in marriage? All of those different things. So it's like, yes, the world's putting out so much content on that, but anytime the church talks about it, I think people are like, oh, I actually want to know. Can y'all speak a little bit to the subject? Because I feel like that's something that would be very helpful for people. Yeah,
I think I low-key think we should do a part 2, to be honest.
I low-key think you should too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
We're planning.
I was
going to say it's not low-key.
But I think, considering where we both came from, right? So Preston had sexual experiences before marriage. I did not with men. And so that whole arena was new to me, but we both came into it with history with watching porn. I came into it with a history of sexual abuse, all of that. So that automatically sets us up to low-key have some dysfunction around the topic, but we were ignorant to the way that dysfunction would manifest. Because I think we assumed, when we're engaged and we dating, we feeling hot, you know what I'm saying? Like, we ready to go. And I didn't realize, nobody warned me that sex would be difficult. Nobody warned me that sex would be triggering. Nobody warned him that maybe he would not get it at the frequency that he was expecting. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he's like, I'm abstinent. I'm giving my life to the Lord. I'm putting flesh to death. I'm not having sex with all these girls. So surely when I get married, the Lord is going to reward me. But the Lord happened to set him up with somebody else sexually abused. So it's like all of this tension, and it was like no one warned us that maybe sex is a thing that God will actually use to sanctify y'all. It won't just be all rainbows and butterflies. And that's not to say that doesn't exist, but I think we have realized that that's something you have to work for. It doesn't just happen just because you said I do.
That's so true. That's so true. I think, if young couples would truly be discipled by the church, to know that, sex might not look like how you think it may look like. I think that we would save a lot of people a lot of heartbreak, a lot of disappointment, because I think in the same way, women fantasize about their marriage day, men fantasize about, how much sex they're going to have with their wives. And when I disciple young men, now I have a framework to disciple them and say, man, like, you don't know how your wife's past trauma is going to show up in your marriage. So ask the Lord to help you be that husband before it actually comes. You don't really know how marriage is going to.
And he doesn't know how his trauma might show up. Because you can think wanting your wife sexually every moment of every day is healthy when there might be a measure of lust in it. There might be a measure of idolatry in it, where your wife is not someone to love or to die for, like Ephesians 5, but an object to feed from. I think when that's the perspective, because it can look natural on the surface when it could still be rooted in trauma, a rejection, abandonment, and an unhealthy neediness. And so I think we both realize, like, we both have issues around this subject that we pretty much needed some therapy for.
And I think
before this whole thing started.
And I also think that, I think a lot of men, we have to just deal with the reality that society and wrong teaching has kind of informed us how we should look at the opposite sex and how we should treat women's bodies. And this is the reason why when we get rejected in marriage, it's so disappointing because society tells us that women should never reject us. And so it doesn't give us a real full reality of a holistic relationship inside of the context of a marriage to say, no, your wife is a complex, nuanced human being just like you are. And her body is, even though like our bodies are not our own, about her, like y'all coming together is still a privilege that you shouldn't automatically feel like you have the right to when you want it.
Yeah.
And so I do think that society teaches us that no, you should never get rejected, but that's not reality.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of men go into marriage just, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. First of all, you probably don't know how. Especially if you grew up in, like in church your whole life.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something crazy.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's so like there needs to be some humility there.
Yeah.
You need to talk to some older men to be like, man, like, every woman's body is different, first of all.
Correct.
And so I just think that we didn't need real honest conversations, transparent conversations, and we shouldn't just let people think that like this is how it's going to be in marriage. Like prepare people well.
100%. Now I feel like you have to do part 2.
I think we do.
Oh my goodness.
I think we
it's
do.
so good because it's so helpful.
good.
I mean, I remember we had Brandon and Brittany Lake on the podcast one time, and they were like sharing about, I don't even know if they shared about it on my podcast or while I was prepping for the podcast, I listened to them talk about this. And Brandon was sharing how he had like an unrealistic expectation of what marriage was going to be based off of movies he had watched, and like not even just porn, but like just movies, and you have this idea of like when you come home to your wife and she's going to want you and all that stuff, and then when she doesn't, it can feel so disappointing and so hurtful. And I remember you listening to that and being like, man, I can really relate to that, and like we had never heard someone else say that before, and then especially someone else in the church just being like real about it, and it actually led us to a really good conversation. And I also remember when we got married, like just a couple weeks in, we were like, have all these questions and all these like, what the heck? And because you're like told your whole life not to do it, and you like flee from it, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, that can be kind of a hard thing to navigate. And I remember you were like, should I call? It was one of our like mentors who's a pastor of ours, and I was like so embarrassed, like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, I think I'm just going to do it. So Christian called him. And before Christian even said anything, he was like, let me guess what you're about to say. And he was like, do you know how many of y'all's friend group has called me and asked the same questions right after they got married? And from a pastor, it was really cool because he's like, we have to be willing to talk about this stuff, you know, because if we're not, people are lost and confused, and all they know is what not to do in dating, but they don't know how to do it right in marriage. And that is a hard thing. There's just something about fall that just feels fresh, right? New classes, new routines, new friendship. It's like the whole season is begging you to reset your priorities and get grounded in who you want to be. And that's why I love what Covenant Eyes is doing. Their Victory app helps you stay accountable with your screen time and protects your heart from the stuff that doesn't line up with the life that you're trying to build. Pornography and inappropriate content is everywhere, but you don't have to face it alone. Victory helps block harmful content, monitors your screen activity, and sends reports to an accountability partner that you choose, like a friend, a mentor, anyone. And the best part, it's not about shame or guilt. It's about growing healthy and staying focused on your faith and your future and your goals. I think this is incredible that they have this. Y'all, the truth is so many people, girls and guys, struggle with pornography, struggle with their phone being an issue for them. And you don't have to struggle alone. And in fact, you don't have to struggle. You can actually overcome this. I mean, my husband is a living testimony of overcoming something like this. And it really started for him with accountability. And so I just encourage you so much. I can't recommend Covenant Eyes enough. Go to covenanteyes.com/Sadie to learn more and start your journey towards freedom today. That's covenanteyes.com/Sadie.
And I want to dispel, just if there just so happens to be somebody listening that has the lie in their mind that you got to try it before you buy it. You know, like I need to watch certain things, or I need to practice in certain ways so I can show it with my spouse in a way that's impressive. I think it's satanic. And it's not even a thing. Sexual immorality is not godly or holy. And I think you have to recognize that Marriage is a covenant, a lifelong commitment between two people where you are continually learning how to be one.
Yeah.
And so even sex is a part of that learning, a part of that cultivation, because truthfully, my body is not the same body as it was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's still learning me. His body is not the same. And our bodies won't be the same in 20 years. So there will be ebbs and flows of us continuing to learn how to please each other.
Yeah.
And so I think if you see it as, no, this is a ride we're on rather than a destination, then you'll have a proper perspective.
And then I also, that's
Really
so good,
good.
but I also want to
really
just
good.
expose the enemy and this ideology that we have to try before we buy it, because sex outside of marriage or even exploring things outside of marriage, the enemy tells us that we got to, keep this guy happy that we're dating, so let me do it. And what you're really doing is you are accumulating experiences that will not show well when you actually get married.
Say it one more time.
You are accumulating experiences that actually will not be good when you, this is the reason why men who watch pornography get so disappointed, because you're vicariously living through men who are not being rejected through porn. And so when your wife rejects you,
or when she has the body,
or when her body changes, like perversion has skewed your outlook, and it will affect how you show up. Having sex with multiple people. Now you had sex with him because you're trying to keep him because you think he your husband, and now y'all didn't work out. Now when you actually get married, you're comparing this guy to your person that God actually wanted you to spend the rest of your life with. That's what the enemy wants. The enemy wants to affect your marriage before you actually say I do.
Yeah, that's so real. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because there are people listening.
Well, I was gonna say too. That's
who
what.
are there.
Well, I was saying the thing before we got married. That was what our pastor would talk about. Was that when you're dating, the scheme of the enemy is like the playing field he's on. He's gonna get you to try to have sex with your girlfriend or boyfriend every single day. And then when you get married, he's gonna try to keep you from having sex with your spouse. So
every single day.
Every single day. So it's like. It's still the same problem, like involving sex, but it's a different strategy that the enemy plays. So when you're dating, yes, he tries to get you to feed your flesh in that, but then when you're married, he tries to keep you.
This little old church mother said that to us one time. She said, when you ain't married, he wants you in everybody's bed. But when you is married, he only wants you in your own. It is true.
It is true. It is true. But I feel like there are so many people listening right now who are like, okay, this is me, right? I'm in this relationship. We're not married. We're having sex, or I'm watching porn. I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how to break up with the guy. I don't know how to make it right with the guy. I don't know how to stop watching porn. Can we give some advice?
Yeah, absolutely. And when I just said what I said, that was in the back of my mind, because I don't want people to condemn themselves if they had sex before marriage, or if they watch pornography, because I've done both. Right? I was not a virgin when I got married, and I struggled with pornography. The beautiful thing about the gospel of Jesus Christ, he is a redeemer of all things.
Great. Yep.
Like he literally, like one, we both have broken past, right? She came from a life of homosexuality. I came from a life of just being promiscuous. And God bringing us together is to say, you know what, I can take broken things and make it beautiful. That's the gospel, right? I like, but at the same time, don't think that you have to remain there if you are there. Right? God is calling you out now. And he's calling you to himself, and don't have shame. Like Jesus, literally endured the shame of the cross so you wouldn't have to deal with it.
It's great.
But know that God is calling you to something higher and greater, and so that you can experience more fullness of life.
It's great.
Yeah, I think, spend time in texts related to sexuality and sex, whether that's Romans 1, Galatians 5, 1 Corinthians 6, like those texts, get those in your system. But I also want to speak to the motive behind sexual immorality, which could help. Like if we uproot that, then your behavior will change, right? So like Tim Keller in his book about idolatry talks about surface idols and root idols. So a surface idol could be sex, money, fame, The root idol might be rejection, fear, all of that. Usually there's a root idol at work when you are in sexual sin. That might be comfort. That might be fear of acceptance. That might be you don't want him to leave. But at that root is you don't trust God to be what you actually need. Wow. And one of the ways that you excavate an idol is see and research and study how God is actually the thing that you want.
Yeah.
So if you want comfort, 1 Corinthians 6 says that he's the source of all comfort. And so when God, even in John 4, when he's talking to the woman at the well who's had 5 husbands, the way he deals with her stuff is by revealing that he can quench her thirst. Yep. That's how he deals with it. Not with shame, not with condemnation. He simply says, I have water to drink that you don't even know about. But once you drink it, and guess what? She did drink it in the spirit. That's why she left her bucket and went to the city and was like, hey, I just met this man that just told me everything I ever did. So like, get in the texts, but also let God be God. And that like your affections will change, your desires will change, and even the way you deal with your temptations will change because you're filled now. Yeah. And so I think that's what I would say.
That is great. Really good. I remember listening to your book, Gay Girl, Good God, and the part where you talked about like, but do I love God enough to like trust him? You know, because it wasn't that you didn't like love your girlfriend or you didn't love that. It was just that like you love God more. Yeah. And like you had to make a decision based off that love for God and that trust that God was really going to have you if you broke up with your girlfriend. And I think like that's the thing that a lot of people have to come to, like, okay, I might love this person, but we're living in sin. And I love God more. We have to address the sin. Like we have to uproot that. And I'm not saying you actually have to break up to do that. Sometimes you can get counseling and help and you can change things. Like we've seen people on Instagram like share their story about how like they're living together, then they stopped living together because they like realized like
y'all need to go to the courthouse.
And they're like got engaged and got married and like you can change. And to your point, like we're the same way. We have those past stories, and that's why I'm like, man, I'm so thankful for God's redemption, and God really can redeem things. And I remember whenever his pastor said that, and he's our pastor, but your pastor before we got married and before I went to that church. And he was saying like, oh yeah, whenever you're dating, you know, you always want to have sex when you're married, you never want to. And it scared me because it's like, oh, well, if we get married, like, is that gonna, you know? Yeah. And it's not, again, like there's so much beauty in it too. Like because marriage, like sex is meant for marriage. It's designed for marriage. So this beautiful thing that God has created, there's so much good. It's just that the enemy does definitely come after it. And because of past and because of perversion and because of things, you are going to need help navigating this territory because you've already done things or seen things or heard things and continue to, because the world is like, you don't even have to seek it. You'll just see it. I mean, we were driving on the interstate the other day and it's like this billboard and it's just all these girls' butts straight up, and I'm like,
it's the lotion?
Yes,
yeah, I seen that.
The sunscreen,
like, it's like glittery lotion.
Yes, and I was just like, okay, not cool, you know, like the wife sitting in the car with the kids and you're seeing like perfect butts on a billboard. Like you don't even have to go looking. It was diverse. It's just there. It was diverse. It was a very diverse group of people. And I say that to say like, yeah, the enemy is real, but God does have a good design and he is a redeemer and can make things beautiful. So that's why you have to have these conversations.
Yeah, sure. And I want to affirm something, because I know depending on sometimes our denominational or theological context, you could feel like we're putting the devil on too much. But Ephesians does, you know, like when I did a study on Ephesians, a Bible study. And when I read through the book, one of the commentaries was saying how a lot of times we detach chapter 6 about the armor of God and spiritual warfare. We detach it from chapter 5, which is about marriage, you know, but Paul is making one full point, which is really he like, husbands, love your wives like Christ loves the church, giving himself up for her, washing her with the water of words. Wives, submit to your husbands like Christ, like the church submits to Christ, And chapter 6 is how you fight against all the opposing forces that keep you from walking in your position. You know what I'm saying? And so to say that there are principalities and powers that want to separate your unity is to affirm scripture. Because if marriage is a picture of the gospel, if sex functions within the context of that marriage, helping the oneness, cultivating the oneness, you cannot think that there are not devils with plans and strategies to keep y'all disunited. Why? Because that hinders the proclamation of the gospel through your marriage.
Teach us.
And so it's like, we're not we're not just being, charismatic.
Yeah.
We're being biblical.
Yeah.
That's all I'd say.
This is the reason why the enemy fights young men so much with porn. Like he literally one, he doesn't want them to put that armor on. He wants them to go into marriage with all of these expectations and these perverted thoughts about what sex is. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why I think porn is so evil.
Yep.
It is destructive, it is evil, and I think that we need to I just hope it's eradicated.
Yes.
It's the worst thing ever.
It is.
Yeah.
So to conclude, because we're starting to run on time, and I hate that because this is such a good conversation. Yeah. And it's funny because I brought up guarding your heart in marriage, and we were like, I don't remember that podcast, but now I actually do want to talk about guarding your heart in marriage because, like you said, there is a very real enemy that's not making the enemy too much. It's just being biblically true. When you think about, because like sometimes you hear people, like Billy Graham, is like, he never got in an elevator with another woman. Like there's like extreme guarding your heart in marriage. And then there's some little things. How do y'all guard your heart in marriage, knowing the context of your past, knowing that we're all human and subject to sin? Like what are some practical things y'all do to guard your heart?
Yeah, well for me, I don't have a relationship with women that doesn't include my wife. Like, and so it's no relationship that I like, a close relationship that I have with women that she's not close with. I that's just my own conviction. Now I know people who have different, testimonies of like, you're a man and she was my best friend in college, and but I think it's healthy. If she your best friend in college and you get married to another woman, she need to be your wife best friend too. Yeah. Like I think your wife has to have a comfort, and I think it's very important for your spouse to be comfortable with all the people that's in your life, especially if it's of the opposite sex. I think that's one way that you guard yourself in marriage. But I also think one way you guard yourself in marriage is real true discipleship, because like I said earlier in the last podcast, it can be a lot for your wife or your husband to just bear all the weight of your challenges or temptations, and so you just need a community to help point you back to Christ, because that's actually going to help you guard your heart in marriage and love your spouse well. And so all the things like I like, for example, like when I was touring when Jackie was pregnant, I had great friends who like literally was like, I came over there because you was talking to that girl in the corner too long. I came and got you, pulled you away. And so that accountability is also great for me.
It's so true. And I think to just speak to that too, of not having women in your life that your wife doesn't feel good about, I think it's too like respecting your spouse enough so when they don't feel good about someone, being like, okay, like I respect that and make those changes, because there's been people, like we're constantly around amazing, beautiful people, but then there are some people that I'll just go, I don't feel good about them and the way that they talk to you, and it's not like a jealousy thing. It's just like it feels like a discernment thing. And whether I'm right or wrong, what I've appreciated in you is when I've said those things to you, you're like, yep, like, heard, like I'm like, hey, I'd rather you not follow them on social media, even though we are friends. I don't feel good about the way she puts herself out when you're around. I think those are like honest conversations you have to have.
And if I shamed you for that, then that'd not be good.
Well, then it may be like, well, why do you want to follow
That's
her?
what I'm saying. It'd be a root.
But I think that's a hard thing in marriage. One, people don't feel comfortable enough with their spouse to say, hey, I'd rather you not follow, because maybe they feel like they're being dramatic or they're being whatever.
Being controlling.
Or they're being controlling. But you trust me enough and I trust you enough to know if we feel that way, okay, done.
Respecting your spouse, because I'm gonna tell myself, I did something early on in our marriage that I thought was innocent, but looking back on it, I had to just like the time I jumped on the back of a.
Oh, we weren't even engaged.
Oh, we were dating. Wow.
He was just being naive.
I was just being naive.
This girl was like this. We worked at this nonprofit, and one of the volunteers, she had like a little motorcycle. And Preston, he can be like a child. I say that respectfully. He was like, "Oh, I want to get on," and he just jumped on. But you on her butt, because she, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't want the optics.
She's like, I don't like.
Yeah, like don't. So I didn't even shame him, because I knew genuinely he just wanted to have fun. He wasn't thinking nothing about that girl butt. but well, I was gonna say, I think guarding.
That's crazy. I thought we were married.
No, he's dead. Guarding your heart in marriage is also not just around sexual temptation. I think it's around many things. But one thing I was expressing, I feel like I've been talking to Preston a lot about covetousness because I've been reading about it and seeing how covetousness is at the root of a lot of our sins. And I was sharing with him how, this is me being very honest and transparent, but I think it would be helpful. I was realizing, I was talking to a friend who really loves rom-coms. I can't stand them. Like, I just don't like them. And I was like processing, why don't I like rom-coms? And I was like, I think it's because they portray wives and women in ways that don't resonate with my personality and my experience. Therefore, it makes me feel shame. And so one way I've been seeing, like, content that presents wifeness in a way that is just super like hyper feminine and affectionate, and it makes me, I want to covet it, and it makes me discontent with myself and my marriage. Like, I am not a good enough wife. I am not a this. I am not a that. And so I think even guarding shame, guarding yourself from covetousness, guarding yourself from comparison, because that will affect how you show up. It affects your freedom. I think there are so many women in particular that struggle in ways they don't have to struggle because they are always comparing themselves to other people. You know what I mean? And it's making you discontent.
Can I say one thing too? I think in guarding our heart in marriage, we're talking about, I think it's very important for us to remember that we have to protect we have to protect our spouse in marriage as well. Because I think the enemy, like what Jackie said, the enemy always wants to remind us of what we are not doing and what we aren't. But like, I'll always want to remind her of like, okay, yeah, you're not like the super like what rom-com show.
Like, babe, good to see you.
Yeah, but that's not. I knew that when I married you, and I love you, and but also like you're super thoughtful. Like, I have good credit score because of you. And I have good health because of you.
And great skin.
And great skin because of you. Like, you like literally like care about my skin routine more than I do. And so like all the
acid, hyaluronic acid.
And I'm like, man, like, one, I'm sick at all these steps, but you're a great wife.
It's something so powerful about affirming your spouse and what you see in them and love about them. Like, words of affirmation is obviously a big thing, but that's so true. Like, you said something the other day that I didn't even like tell you, it meant a lot to me, but you were like, you are really good at that. And I was like, thank you. Like, that means so much that your spouse sees you and acknowledges, and like you hear something that they love about you. Or like whenever you say, you're such a great mom, I saw you do these specific things, like you feel so seen. And I love that point about the rom-com, because it's not something that like, you probably wouldn't have come to that unless you really thought about why does this bother me, and like you got to the root of that, and then that's where the shame was coming from. Similar experience. Christian's family loves James Bond movies, and I had never seen them, and so we watched one, and I was like, oh yeah, that was great, I loved it. It was like the more recent one. Then it was like a rainy day, so you're like, oh, let's go watch the James Bond movies. Well, at the end of the day, I was feeling like really just like insecure. It was weird, and I'm like, why do I feel this way? And I like thought about it. Why do I feel this way? Why did I like not like that so much? It was because in every single movie, the woman is always like just very scandalous, hypersexualized. Like, that is every role, and like every role the woman got casted in James Bond. Like, there's nothing more to them than them being like the super sexual person. And then I'm like, I'm not like that, and then you're like, and he loves this movie, and I'm not like, you get in your head about it, and that's just real. And then I had to say to him, like, I can't watch stuff like that because this is how it makes me feel in comparison to how those women are. And I'm not like that. And when you like a movie like that, it makes me feel like I need to be that way, And so we had like a really good conversation about it or whatever, but to your point, it's not just like the obvious things, it's the things that you're like, why do I feel that way? And asking yourself that question, and then trusting your spouse enough to go to them and having those conversations. And it makes you stronger. It makes you see each other more. And then again, he's like, I don't want you to be that way. I would never want you to be that way. Then it's like, okay, well then let's not watch movies like that that make us feel like we need to be that way. Makes you better. So y'all, this podcast is so good. I'm like, oh man, if I was listening to this at like 19 years old, it would have helped me so much navigate the next 7-8 years.
That's true.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm just super thankful for y'all being willing to come on and talk about stuff like this and being the real deal.
We appreciate it.
Just got to sit on your little pretty couch.
Y'all are the best.